everyone, Spider-Man 1991 here, and I like to read comic books. These are all the comic books I read that came out for the first week, the very first day of October 2014. Let's get started with what I got from DC Comics. Green Arrow number 35. Basically, the issue opens up with Oliver and Diggle fighting crime, and Diggle makes reference to the fact that Naomi is no longer with them, and also Emiko is away training, and Thief left to go for another job. And the next day, Oliver returns to the Queen Foundation, which was formerly Queen Industries, which is now apparently a charitable foundation that's sort of helping Seattle rebuild. And Oliver is called into a meeting with Bruce Wayne and Lex Luthor, who have recently merged their two companies together, which I'll touch upon when I get to Justice League. And Oliver basically, and they want to offer Oliver the chance to help be a part of what they're doing to help make the world better. And they believe that with the stuff that the Queen Foundation has, all its potential technology, they could use it to help better the world. But Oliver doesn't want any part of it. He wants to just focus on rebuilding his city over the world. And Bruce and Lex get furious and they leave. Then later that night, Diggle calls Oliver and tells him the location of a hacker who's apparently stolen a lot of money from the Glades Memorial Hospital, which Oliver visited earlier the issue after he was shot in his arm. So Oliver goes to the address Diggle told him about, and he finds Felicity Smoke, who apparently was hired to kill him. And also this issue we do see another character named Mr. King, who is torturing someone looking for Mia Dearden. Okay, this is the first issue written by Andrew. I hope I'm saying this right. Andrew Kreisberg and Ben Sokolowski. Yeah, and they were pretty much the creative minds behind Arrow. And so naturally, in this first issue, we get introduced to it does feel a lot like Arrow. In fact, the opening line in this is Oliver's thoughts saying, "I'm Oliver Queen." I mean, that's the first thing that popped into my head. And of course, we do get Diggle, and of course, we see more of Diggle, and also the New 52 debut of Felicity Smoke. I have to admit, I do like Arrow the TV series, and the previous writer Jeff Lemire, he did sort of create the same sort of vibe that the Arrow TV series has to the Green Arrow comic, but I really hope that that even though they're trying to make Green Arrow more like Arrow, that they don't make it a complete carbon copy, because I find it odd that at the beginning Diggle says that Emiko is no longer with them. I kind of figured from the way the last story arc ended that Emiko was going to be a bigger part of the Green Arrow series, and she was gonna be Oliver's sidekick, but apparently that's not the case. I really hope we do get her back soon. Also, we get the New 52 reference of Mia Dearden, who before the New 52 was actually Oliver's sidekick and the second Speedy after Roy Harper. So honestly, all I can say is if you are someone who likes Arrow the TV series and you have not read a Green Arrow comic at all, you'll probably enjoy this. But if you read the last run by Jeff Lemire and you like Arrow the TV series, you're probably going to find this issue to be a mixed bag. All right, next up, Justice League number 34. Pretty much, Lex Luthor has officially joined the Justice League, and at first he's helping Superman fight Gorilla Grodd, and Luthor starts asking Superman why does he still need Batman around if he's in the league and stuff, and Superman basically says, "I don't trust you, Lex," and they have a discussion about that. Also, Lex goes and helps Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman sort of explains to Lex that really this is about that, and about power, and Wonder Woman says that the League isn't really about power, it's really more about helping people, and they're helping this impoverished nation, and one of the children thanks Lex by giving him a flower. Then he hugs her, and Luthor's just surprised at his actions, like, "What did I just do?" And Wonder Woman just says, "Just enjoy it, Lex." And also, what I just said in Green Arrow happens in this issue with Bruce Wayne and Lex Luthor officially merging their two companies together. and when Lex and Bruce have a moment alone, Bruce explains to Lex the whole reason he did this is so that he can keep an eye on him, both as a businessman and in the League. And after their discussion, Batman calls Superman and says he took the bait. Tomorrow we're going to arrest Lex Luthor. And then we cut to later that night, and we see that Lex is apparently meeting with someone else, and he's making a deal with Owlman. We don't know exactly what Lex wants, but he's made a deal with Owlman that if Owlman helps him, he'll deliver him Superwoman's child. Also, Captain Cold does appear at the beginning of this issue, waking up in LexCorp Towers, and when he's in the bathroom, Mirror Master talks to him and asks, "What the hell are you doing here? The Rogues need you." But Cold says he's staying because he's hoping to pull off what he considers the biggest job of their lives. Okay, so Captain Cold really had. So first, let me just say that Lex isn't just the only villain to be joining the Justice League. Captain Cold is supposed to be joining as well, and I think now that Lex is going to be a part of and I think what they're saying next issue with them trying to arrest Lex Luthor, I think somehow that's going to go badly for them, and Lex is going to look like the good guy, and I think because of that, Lex is going to tell them that he'll stay in the League if they let Captain Cold join. So that's my theory about I think what's going to happen with Cold. Also, we still see that. Also, again, Lex Luthor is definitely the main focus of the story arc, obviously. And we see that Lex, even though it does seem like he is changing, and that's the thing with this issue, it makes it look like Lex is starting to change, but at the end we get the same old Luthor, who's pretty much going behind everyone's back, trying to further his own agenda by making a deal with Owlman, who hasn't made an appearance since the end of Forever Evil, which I find interesting, because I figured Owlman, if he was going to appear again, he would have appeared in Grayson, but I guess not. So yeah, basically I think... Oh, also Power Ring is still in this, and Flash is trying to help her control the Power Ring a bit more. And I don't think she's going to join the League, because I think once Captain Cold joins, I think that will probably be the final straw, and Superman and Flash will leave, and I think Power Rings would leave as well. So that's my theory about what could happen. Really, Justice League, really great series. It is so far a great series. I think what Jeff Johns is doing is an interesting concept, having Lex Luthor join the Justice League. I think it's very well written, very entertaining, and Jeff Johns, the dude really does write good villains. Even when the villains are trying to be heroes, he makes them good. He really writes them as great characters. So I highly recommend Justice League. Right, time for Marvel with Captain America number 25. Who is the new Captain America? We've known for months. And basically this is the issue where Falcon officially becomes Captain America. It opens up with Iron Man retrieving Sam after the bomb went off. And apparently Sam Wilson survived it because he had Iron Man build him vibranium wings, which helped absorb most of the blast. So he was still injured, but still fine. And of course after that, after the heroes kind of get together, Sharon accuses Jet Black of working with Zola, and also Jet, she just basically told her father off, saying that she was saying that Steve Rogers does trust her, and of course right when Sharon starts accusing Jet, Steve says, "Okay, we need to take this slowly." Like, he doesn't just outright say, "Oh, Jet, you need to come in for questioning." No, he tries to talk to her calmly. Says, right now though, I think we need to calm down. I think you need to turn in your staffs. And of course Jet freaks out and makes her way back to Zola's tower, and she heads back to Dimension Z with Zola. And then we cut to a week later. Steve Rogers has gathered pretty much all the Avengers, like every Avenger there, the guys in the current Avengers title, the Uncanny Avengers, the Secret Avengers. Basically every hero gathers at Avengers Mansion, and Steve officially announces his retirement from the field, but he will remain as sort of a mission coordinator, so to speak. He'll be coordinating missions from Avengers Mansion, and also he announces the Falcon as his replacement for for the title of Captain America. Also, we get an epilogue that shows an unknown council of Hydra where one of the members who just arrived, we don't know who it is, was apparently at the announcement that Sam is the new Captain America. So, and they're basically saying that now that Rogers is gone and Falcon's the new Captain America, now is the time to strike. And so Hydra's basically planning on making their move right there. Okay. This was actually a very good issue. I will say this. It was funny how at first there was a lot of humor in this, particularly from Falcon, because at the beginning when Iron Man brings Sam back and everyone thinks he's dead, suddenly Sam starts speaking like, "Oh man, yeah, that guy had all charm, brains, like he was smart enough to ask Tony Stark to make him vibranium wings." And also when he's revealed as Captain America, there is a bit of a joke. I find it funny about what Sam said, saying when he comes out, he says, "You guys knew it was me, right? There is literally no drama in this reveal." Like, right when I heard that, I immediately thought back to how it was Marvel pretty much announced that Falcon was going to be the new Captain America ahead before this issue came out. So I thought that was a funny thing that they had. Also, this was a good transitional issue. I think it does a good job closing this Captain America series while getting us ready for the next Captain America series with the epilogue, particularly with the epilogue involving Hydra. I cannot wait to see what's going to happen, because apparently Hydra's making a comeback, just like in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, how Hydra's basically still active and Shield, and what's left of Shield is dealing with that. I thought that's definitely a great tie-in move. But yeah, overall, I would say this really isn't necessary. If you're gonna read the next Captain America series that's gonna be starring Falcon, you really don't need to read this. I mean, you really don't really need to read it. I think this is just kind of a good, for people who've been reading the current Captain America title, I think this is a good transition for you. But if you haven't been reading Captain America at all and you're just going to start with the new series next month, I would say you can just go ahead and start it. But honestly, but overall, still, this was a good issue. You don't really need it, but I do recommend it because I thought it was a good issue. There's definitely has some funny moments. However, it is $4.99, so I think that is sort of a deal breaker for some people. But if you have a small number of comics, then I definitely recommend getting Captain America number 25. Okay, moving on. Guardians 3000 number 1. This is the new title for the original Guardians of the Galaxy. When I say original, I mean this is the team that first went, publication-wise, this is the first team that went by the name of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Basically, it opens up with the Guardians fighting off Badoon Strike Force, and unfortunately, they're also trying to protect this Earth girl named Gina Drake. Unfortunately, though, all the Guardians are killed. It's just down to Gina and Charlie 27 when suddenly they die, and then we cut to 30 minutes earlier, which basically shows the Guardians taking Gina to meet with the Unknown Council, with basically meeting the Hideaway Parliament. And Vance Astro explains to the council that Starhawk sensed something about Gina that's involved. Well, basically, Starhawk sensed that time is being altered and is collapsing in a way that they feel like they've been fighting the same war over and over, but every time they try to win, they still wind back at the beginning. And Starhawk senses that Gina is somehow important to all this, when suddenly the Badoon break their way into the Parliament, and suddenly Gina realizes, wait, I've seen this before, and it's basically the same thing that we saw at the beginning of the issue. And at that moment, Gina kind of has a deja vu feeling. She helps kind of explain to Vance Astro that something's wrong here. I've lived through this, and what we need to do is fight. Don't try to run, just fight. And that's where the issue ends. Okay, this is written by Dan Abnett, one half of the great duo that wrote the modern Guardians team. So I think that's going to get a lot of people excited for this. However, I do think that this is going to confuse some people, because Guardians of the Galaxy. Naturally, when people think of Guardians of the Galaxy, we think of the team that has the movie, the modern team. But these are the original Guardians, so I think for some people, these characters are mostly unfamiliar. I mean, the only one I think anyone might recognize is probably Yondu. And this Yondu is definitely a lot different from Michael Rooker's Yondu. Just saying. So, I think if you have some concept of who the original Guardians are, you'll probably enjoy this book, but it really doesn't give you that much of an introduction to these characters for a first issue, which is sort of a good thing, but at the same time, I think it's going to confuse new readers. To be honest, it's sort of a difficult way. It's kind of a difficult way to recommend say who this book is for. I would say that if you like the Guardians of the Galaxy comic, the modern comic, and you've been curious about who the original Guardians, the ones who were set in the future, are, then definitely check out the first issue. If not, otherwise, I would recommend this to people who are probably fans of the Legion of Superheroes, because that's kind of what the original Guardians of the Galaxy were. They were sort of Marvel's answer to Legion of Superheroes, where basically they exist 1,000 years in the future. However, unlike the Legion, they are basically the last. Each one's sort of like the last of their race, and they're trying to fight off against this sort of dominating alien race known as the Badoon. So overall, I would say Guardians of the Galaxy 3000. If you're just curious about it, just borrow it from a friend. Otherwise, if you want, you can buy. Otherwise, it's a buy. All right, next comic, Legendary Star-Lord number 4. This is the issue that we've been waiting for. The match, the grudge match between Star-Lord and Thanos. Peter Quill basically arrives. Thanos is on Earth's moon, and Peter Quill arrives with basically a huge power-up from the Mandalay gem that he stole from way back in issue 1. Basically, the gem creates this sort of cosmic aura that allows Peter to survive blasts of cosmic energy. Also gives him enough strength to punch Thanos right in the jaw and stuff. However, he can still be hurt by physical blows, such as when Thanos kneed him in the nose and it broke. Basically, Thanos and Peter have it out, and Peter does make a reference to what happened in make a reference to what happened, how they got out of the Cancerverse, saying that when they got out, they had a truce. They don't really go into that much. They just sort of reference it, and Peter's just basically going after Thanos because Thanos is still alive because of him, and he feels guilty about it. And right when Peter's about to smash Thanos' skull, Thanos reminds him that if he dies, then the cosmic energy in him will basically explode, will basically destroy Earth's moon, and without the moon, Earth will die. And pretty much tells Quill, "Do you really want to do that?" And so Peter doesn't, and Thanos also tells him that basically their truce right now, once he leaves, their truce is over, and that maybe instead of focusing on trying to kill him, he finds something else to do. So after Thanos leaves, Peter heads to Earth and leaves a message to Kitty Pryde, because they got in a fight earlier when Peter explained to Kitty that even though he was coming to Earth, he couldn't see her. So he leaves her an "I'm sorry" message in flower petals outside the X-Men's outside the new Charles Xavier Institute, saying "I'm sorry," signed "Dumbass," and basically takes off. Meanwhile, we see that the guy who's after Peter, Mr. Knife, is apparently looking for some sort of treasure, and basically Mr. Knight is now declaring that he's going after this item called the Black Vortex, which I have no idea what it is. Okay, this is a pretty self-contained story, honestly. Even though it does reference the outcome of, I guess, what happened about how Star-Lord, Drax, and Thanos got out the Cancerverse, it doesn't go into any details that sort of spoiled the story arc that's going on in Guardians of the Galaxy. So I think that's good. Basically, basically, but it doesn't really explain what really happened. All we know is that they had a truce, and that Star-Lord and Thanos had a truce, and then when they got, and now Star-Lord pretty much went after Thanos because it's his fault that Thanos is still alive, and he's trying to make up for his mistakes, and Thanos is basically the one that talks him out of his quest for vengeance, saying that he should probably do something else instead of being consumed by guilt and vengeance. Weird coming from it's weird that it took that coming from Thanos. Also, the Star-Lord Thanos fight, even though it was basically something in issue 1 that was alluded to, like this big thing that was going to happen, it's not bad, but it's still not really the big deal that I guess we all thought it was going to be. So I would say but I still like this series. I think Sam Humphries is doing a good job writing it. Overall, I think if you like Star-Lord, you should definitely give this series a try. Right, next up, Moon Knight, number 8. Moon Knight, this issue, Moon Knight basically deals with a terrorist hostage situation in the One World Trade Center. Basically, Moon Knight breaks in, stops the hostage, and the whole time he's communicating with his ally in the police force, Detective Flint. And after Moon Knight takes care of the hostage and he's about to leave the building, by going out the elevator, Detective Flint tells him that basically they now have to, that he spoke with Moon Knight's psychiatrist, and now they're getting ready to arrest him. But Moon Knight escapes before he actually is arrested, and Detective Flint is let go at the NYPD. Basically, we have no idea whether Flint was fired or he decided to quit himself. Basically, it's just one panel showing Flint packing his stuff as we're listening to a news broadcast that's saying that Moon Knight was a terrorist. Also, interesting enough, though, this issue, the bulk of the issue is told through basically camera captures. Like, we're seeing, like, all the panels of this are basically like captures from the news talking about the hostage situation. Also, the cameras from Moon Knight's little drones that he lets loose in the building, and security cameras and cell phone cameras. That's basically how the issue is told. So yeah, that was definitely an interesting approach. However, it does feel like it does make the issue a little fast paced. I will say that it felt like it went by way too fast. Also, this is a very one and done. Has a very one and done type of feel, which is something that's going on with most of these Moon Knight issues, which I think is great. I think that's one of the cool things about this current Moon Knight series is that you can pretty much jump on almost anywhere. You can, because every issue does feel like a story in its own right, that you can just read one, see how you like it, and then decide whether you want to keep reading it or not. And I think that's great. I enjoy that a lot when comic books are like that. We're not really getting we're not really necessarily building up to a big story arc, but we are getting an illusion that somehow Moon Knight's psychiatrist is trying to take him down. So yeah, overall, I'd say Moon Knight is definitely a buy. Alright, next up, Silver Surfer number 6. Basically, Dawn and Surfer make their first stop are basically leaving Earth, but Dawn keeps asking Surfer to make stops for restroom breaks and food breaks. And eventually, though, Dawn makes a comment that her tonsils are starting to hurt, and they should probably head back to Earth. And basically, Surfer just uses his power cosmic to remove her tonsils painlessly as possible. And of course, right after he does that, Dawn's a little PO'd at him and says that she should get ice cream now, because that's the tradition on Earth. When you get your tonsils taken out, you get ice cream. I didn't get ice cream, and I had my tonsils taken out, but okay, I guess that's fine for everyone else. Basically, they stop at a planet called Planet Prime, where Surfer's been paying for most of the food he and Dawn get by turning some of it into Nigerian gold and paying for it, which is like apparently very expensive. However, the banker of the planet notices this and has accused Surfer of destroying the planet's wealth because now that they've had extra Rigerian gold, it's decreasing the value of the planet's other supply of gold. And so because of that, she calls in the military, or rather Warrior 1 of the military. And Surfer fights Warrior 1, and of course, and it looks like Warrior 1 he and Surfer are almost evenly matched. However, when Dawn talks to Warrior 2 who's nearby about why they wear the badges and stuff with their ranks and everything, Dawn realizes that they need to have their badges on at all times in order to get their ranks. So Dawn asks Surfer to destroy the badge. Basically grabs a megaphone and tells Surfer to destroy his badge. Surfer destroys Warrior 1's badge, which effectively makes him Warrior 0, and makes Warrior 2 the new Warrior 1, who now has basically the head of the Warriors, and basically has them end the fight, and says that now that Surfer and Dawn can leave the planet. Also, the old Warrior 1, or Warrior 0 now, basically decides to swear vengeance on Surfer and Dawn. And of course they leave the planet, and as they head off, they're getting ready to leave, and Dawn points out a cosmic anomaly known as a pentagonal cascade, and Surfer notices it and says like, Surfer kind of realizes that if Dawn hadn't have stopped me, I would have missed out on this like once every 1,000-year event, and so they stay to watch it. Alright. I like how on the last page, when Surfer's kind of like realizing that he's missing, when Surfer realizes that he's seeing this once every 1,000-year event, thanks to Dawn sort of slowing him down, that he gets to see this great thing of beauty because of her, and I think that's definitely something that Silver Surfer does. It looks at the relationship between this all-powerful cosmic being with a girl from Earth, an average girl from Earth, and at first Surfer, he basically just wants to move on, go from like point A to point B, and of course Dawn, she's the one who's making him experience all these stops. Like they stop to get food, they stop for the restroom, they stop at Plant Prime to get apparently the best ice cream in the universe, and also when they stop to go look at the Pentagonal Cascade, which, by the way, which on the last page, it's beautiful. Mike Allred, he's doing a good job as the book's artist. I think it's just really nice last page. Yeah, but back to what I was saying. Basically, it's funny. Basically, Surfer, it's good that he has a companion now, because Dawn's kind of giving him perspective. Like, he's too busy worrying about moving on and going to next point, but Dawn's kind of like making him stop and enjoy the beauty that's going on between point A and point B in a way, which I think is great. Also, there is a lot of humorous moments, such as when Dawn's angry at Surfer for removing her tonsils without her permission, then basically demanding ice cream, which is funny, which was really funny. But overall, I would say Silver Surfer, it's a great book. It's funny. It's got a lot. It's definitely going to be looking at some interesting planets in the Marvel space universe. So yeah, overall, Silver Surfer, it's a very entertaining, beautifully drawn book, and I highly recommend it. Alright, next up, Spider-Man 2099, number 4. Spider-Man 2099 is still fighting the Scorpion and an army of Spider Slayers. However, Miguel changes back to a civilian clothes. When Miguel sort of realizes that these Slayers are targeting anything that looks like Spider-Man, he decides to change back to civilian clothes, then uses his his artificial intelligence assistant, Layla, who basically lives inside his computer watch. He basically throws the watch on Scorpion, which generates a holographic costume that makes Scorpion look like the original present-day Spider-Man. Of course, then that makes the Slayers all turn on Scorpion, and during the chaos of the Slayers attacking Scorpion and him trying to defend himself, the building in which Tiberius is held captive in, part of it collapses and crushes the woman who's basically leading the rebel group that took Tiberius hostage, and it allows Tiberius enough time to escape. When he gets onto the streets, he deactivates the Spider Slayers with his sort of kill override phrase and digs up Gargan. Then a few hours later, we see Miguel and Miguel is able to retrieve his Holowatch before Tiberius actually finds Gargan. Anyways, the Slayer. Anyways, a couple hours after that, Miguel and Tiberius meet with the country's dictator who originally purchased the Slayers, and Tiberius announces that he's basically ending the deal right there. He's going to return his money, but he's no longer going to be giving this guy Spider Slayers anymore. And so Tiberius and Miguel leave, and Miguel kind of expresses some pride in Tiberius, and when he's about to compliment him, Tiberius says, if you say you're proud of me, you're fired." And that's where the issue ends. Okay, I like how Miguel fought Scorpion, how he was able to sort of turn the Spider Slayers against Scorpion. I thought that was a clever way of him using his future tech to help take down his enemy. Also, there is sort of a change in Tiberius with this. I mean, Tiberius, he was definitely a guy who only wanted to make money, use science to make a lot of money, and didn't really care much about the people around him. But in this case, it sort of changed him in a way. He started to realize that these people are getting hurt. The guy who basically is buying the Spider Slayers to keep order in their country is basically turning them against his own citizens. And so Tiberius kind of has a change of heart in a way. Do I think this is going to stick? I'm not sure. I think probably when they get back to Alchemex in New York, maybe Tiberius might start changing, but I highly doubt that. I seriously doubt it. If they are trying to change Tiberius, I think Peter David, the writer of the book, is definitely going to be making this a really long-term goal rather than something that can be done that's going to happen in a few issues. But overall, Spider-Man 2099, still a great series. Definitely, Miguel is definitely an interesting Spider-Man. Also, he's from the future, which did give him an edge in his fight with Scorpion. And also, Peter David does a good job writing dialogue for the characters. I think that's where he shines most as a writer. And overall, I think Spider-Man 2099, great series. I definitely recommend picking it up if you enjoyed Spider-Man 2099's appearances back in Superior Spider-Man. Right, next up, Uncanny Avengers number 25. Basically, Magneto's extra powers kick in, and he and the other Uncanny Avengers, Scarlet Witch, Havoc, and Rogue fight the Red Skull and his S-Men. And Magneto basically, with his extra power, when he wanted to discover that Red Skull has a room with like 5 other Charles Xavier clones hooked up to the tower, or at least it looks like. Well, it's really more like 5 telepathic mutants, I think, hooked up to the tower. They do look a lot like Charles Xavier, though. I'm not so sure. They don't outright say it, but I think it's implied that they are clones of Xavier, maybe. Anyways, Magneto basically is at full rage. He basically kills all the S-Men. Then he severely weakens the Red Skull, and then he just decides, you know what? I'm not going to use my powers to kill you. I'm going to beat you, and just basically beats the Red Skull with his own fists. Then finally grabs like a pile of bricks from the rubble and crushes the Red Skull's head. And unfortunately though, Magneto, with the Red Skull's physical form dead, Red Skull apparently resurrects himself as Red Onslaught, and that's where the issue ends. Okay, the only narration done in this issue is by the Scarlet Witch, who basically sort of knows how her father is acting. She says that basically stuff like Wanda feels as though even though Magneto is believes he's doing the right thing, he's basically just as bad. Whenever he gets angry, he's just as bad as the people he's trying to fight. And And that's an interesting perspective. I will say that this issue definitely felt more like, it feels more like this could have been an issue of Magneto rather than Uncanny Avengers. But really, the last two issues, and this one of Uncanny Avengers have all just been leading up to Axis, and that's basically where this issue ends. It ends at the beginning of Axis #1, which comes out next week. I looked at the preview, and it picks up exactly where this one left off. Like right as Red Onslaught appears, that's where where the event starts. Also, so basically, I think you should get this in the last two issues of Uncanny Avengers if you are going to get Axis, because I think that's where it really starts. Also, if you like Magneto Unchained, this is definitely the issue you need to check out, because I don't know, that was just such a cool scene where Magneto just decided not to use his powers to kill the Red Skull and just beat him to death like a normal man. I thought that was a cool scene. I mean, don't get me. I mean, Magneto is. I mean, I think that this shows what happens when Magneto is really. What happens when Magneto really gets angry. So, and also he did get the extra powers from the mutant growth hormone. So in a way, Magneto's form power did return to him. So yeah, overall, I would definitely recommend Uncanny Avengers if you like Magneto and you're going to get Axis. Okay, that's it for my comic review this week. Thank you. Sorry this video is a little long. Thank you again for watching. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. I'm Spider-Man 1991 saying, see you later.